Hey, welcome to another episode of whatever this is. I'll go with my audio journal stuff. Thoughts of a techno wizard, thoughts of a techno shaman, anarcho futurist, cosmic shaman, all that stuff. Just mash it up all together. Still trying to figure out the names because I want to combine so many things. But oh, Solarpunk shaman. That's what I was calling on my shorts. So maybe I'll just stick with that. It's short, sweet, gets to a point of what I'm focusing on for this channel right now. But yeah. Anyways, what I really wanted to talk about is this idea that I posed in one of my shorts called the Agronomic Tower. Right now, I worked on this for Andrew's. Shout out to the channel Andrewism. He has this Solarpunk art, not quite a contest. I forgot what he calls it. Solarpunk art like showcase type of thing that he does almost every year. And I finally did one this year or last year, I guess, 2025. And I just wanted to share that here, because I'm trying to do more stuff with this channel. So, without further ado, let me jump into it. So this idea came from me from multiple things, right? Actually, let me get back because the background is helpful to understand, where this comes from, right? So it came from two major things. One, okay, many major things. The overarching thing being solarpunk and Afrofuturism and stuff like that. But the underlying or some of the major things I want to point out here is number one is near my old place there was this a mall, right? Shout out South Lake Mall, where I used to go there all the time as a child, but it's kind of I'm not gonna say run down because it's not like Greenbrier Mall, no shade, but all the shade. South Lake Mall is kind of like it's a mall, right? And many malls are falling apart these days. But I'm surprised that South Lake Mall is still going. And actually, shout out to them because they actually are working on a student like arena center, which is really cool. Where they're gonna have they're basically going to use that for all the Clayton County schools to go there for all sorts of different activities, graduations, celebrations, whatever, as well as career centers and things like that. So I'm really glad that they're trying to use that mall for more use cases. But all that to say that when I started learning more about Solarpunk, a big thing that I saw was the need to repurpose old ideas or current infrastructure into something better, right? And in fact, maybe I should have pulled this up first because I'm just now thinking about this. But let me see if can find it. Solarpunk Park. Dang, I forgot the name. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna just pull it up on my media. Oh, goodness, my Substack. There was this thing where this artist joined of art or something like that, where they showed the idea of a Solarpunk strip mall. Here we go. Let me bring that over. So this is their idea here. And this is one of the big things that inspired me, right, for this idea. Can I make this bigger? Probably shouldn't have done all this on the fly, but y'all go check this channel out. This channel is amazing. So many stuff on this channel has really inspired my Solarpunk efforts. Oh, I can just something like that, duh. But here, and it's hard to see because I have a super wide monitor. But go check out their Instagram for you see it yourself. But this is one of the biggest things that inspired me. Right, I saw this, I was like, man, we can do that for real. Like I was looking at like I said, South Lake Mall, and there's so many like little shops in there that's like out of business, and there's a huge part of the parking lot that is empty most of the time, right? Over the years, sometimes they use it for like car dealerships or this, that, and the other, but most of the time, a huge part of that parking lot is just empty. A huge part of that land is just kind of like sitting there, that they kind of sort of use for like events every now and then, but most of the time it just sits there empty. So I'm like, we could be doing better with this stuff, right? And that was the inspiration for this. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a 3D version of the South Lake Park, of the South Lake Mall, and reimagine it for a Solarpunk, type of thing, right? But the problem is that I didn't have the time or the effort or the skill set to really do that, because it's a huge thing, right? And I might as well go ahead and show it while I'm on here. Before I jump into my thing here, y'all seeing the goods over there. But yeah, this was the idea, right? That I wanted to do. So sorry if you can't see it that well. I could try zooming as much as I can. But yeah, so I had this idea of like, okay, I want to turn, what would it look like to turn South Lake Mall into a Solarpunk, mall, into a Solarpunk strip mall, where you use the same, instead of like trying to pave everything over and start from scratch, because I think that's unrealistic. You start from where we are now, and then slowly but surely, or maybe even quickly, turn it into something better, right? And so right now you have this big area. So usually when people come into the mall, they go through the back and go through the food court down here, which is the second level down there, or in the front up here, there's like a little hallway and some shops and stuff like that where they go up here, right? So I was like, okay, first of all, I'd want to turn this giant parking lot that they have. So all this gray circle around the mall, all of that is a parking lot. And most of it does not get used, right? The vast majority of the parking is either down here by the parking lot, up here by the I guess the main part of the mall, or around here by the Macy's, right? This is a Macy's on this side. And so I was like, okay, if we were to redo this, what would it look like, right? So I figured, number one, we turn a lot of the parking lot into a food forest, right? Hack up the parking, like the asphalt and stuff like that. Do some land healing to reintegrate nature back into it and turn a lot of it into food forest. At the same time, it's still near a urban center, right? So you need some way to get in and out. So I figured, okay, you can still have parking for like small vehicles, but in a better future, we want to have more transit options, right? And so I figured, okay, how about we have a transit port where you have things like streetcars, airships, buses, like all the mass transit can come over here and connect to this way. And you can even have, I call this a transit port, like for like light rail or something like that. You can connect a light rail system. MARTA does not go out this far right now, but this is just me imagining a better future, right? In a better future, we can connect MARTA down to Clayton County, because it really should be connected, right? And this would be a very good place to connect it in, because South Lake Mall is kind of like central to a lot of what's going on in this part of Clayton County, right? So yeah, if you can connect this via subway or something like that, or a light rail system, or light rail system. I'm not 100% sure on the differences, but either way, connect that, have that transit port there, and then have an exterior transit port out here where people can come in and out, right? You can have a food court still, but it's like outside food court, so you can have fresh food that you grow in the food forest and in the garden. You can make food right there. On the side here, well, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to this side. So I'll start with this side. And currently there's a big Macy's there, right? But we're trying to imagine beyond just a simple, store type of situation where you go and do consumerism, right? Let's imagine a little bit better here. So I figured, hey, what if we use this space for teaching and education and things like that, right? So you can have this is, I think it's like 2 or 3 levels right now. So there's so much space here. We can use this for like classrooms, right? Where you can have classes, and by classrooms, I don't mean like a typical K through 12 school. I mean like a skill sharing classroom, right? Where anybody can be like, hey, I want to teach something, or hey, I want to learn something, right? And that, excuse me, this building is where you can host a lot of those, classes. And then, because I'm big into VR, that's my day job. I work in virtual reality. Where I usually design, virtual reality training simulations and things like that. So I figured, hey, what if we can use this for VR arenas or training exhibits and things like that, where people can immerse themselves into the classes that you're teaching, right? Into history, into science, into all this other stuff, because there's so much space here where you have plenty of space to do all that. And currently a lot of VR is like really for small room scale situations, because the big arena scale situations are kind of harder to do, both in terms of space as well as content. But I'd want to, there's a lot of great use cases for it, right? So I want to use all the space that's already here for those arenas, where you can have a large area where people can actually walk around in the VR headset and they can see each other through the headset and things like that. But they're fully immersed into these other worlds, so that you can, be immersed into whatever you're trying to teach people, right? In a better way. So that's that side. And then I want to do a maker space over here, where I don't even know what's currently over here, because it's just a big part of the building that's just kind of closed off. I don't remember what used to be there. I think it used to be some big name store, maybe a Sears. I don't know. I don't remember. But I think right now it's still closed off to this day. Or maybe it's like used for something else, like a dealership or something. I don't quite I'm not even sure, but I figured we could use this for makerspace, and this part of the parking lot we could use for a recycle yard, right, where people can bring in their old cars and everything like that, and we'll turn it into new things, where you can make robots if you want. You can make freaking things for your home, gardens, or like garden tools, or things like that, or whatever else people can imagine. You can do this in this area, and it's having a huge makerspace like this will be huge. Like, I'm part of a makerspace called Freeside right now. It's pretty cool, but honestly I got to go there more often. I don't go there often enough, but it's a decent size. But I always imagine, like, how cool would this be if it was like big enough for anybody in the community to just come through, right? I think those things, and by community I mean like Clayton County scale, right? Or at least like Forest Park scale, like a city, where a whole bunch of people can come in and out and make things together, right? But yeah, you have the food court down here, and this again connected to these gardens, and finally this leads us to this area on the side. So this area on the side, I don't know what it would used to be, but it's been closed down for years. And right now, as I was saying before, they have been opening it up for the for the arena, the student center thing that I mentioned before. And I think that's a cool use case. I didn't know that at the time when I designed this, but even so, my original idea for this side was maybe we could use it as like a biolab, a greenhouse, and nursery, like trees nurseries to help with the function of this food forest, right? Where you might need to study, okay, how do we bring indigenous things back into this area? How do we heal the land? In terms of land healing, there's a lot that goes into it for soil testing and things like that. So you can have this be a free communal space to do soil testing, to do biochar, to do have an indoor, like I said, greenhouses and things like that. But like an actual bio lab where people can do all sorts of scientific studies on the local environment. And but it's free for people to come in and participate. So that was the idea there. And all these stores on the inside, I was going to come up with like different ideas that we can do here, things that people can learn, like a bike areas, or like bike repair and repair for all sorts of things, crafting, all those things, right? I was thinking I was going to do all that. But as you can see, this is a huge idea, right? And the more I tried to do it, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm up for this. And so I was like, okay, let me downsize and just do one building, right? One small building. All right. And that came from that comes to the other thing I was talking about at the top, where downtown, there's a spot I used to go to called Year Up, and next to Year Up there was a parking lot, right? And in the last couple of years, they turned, not Year Up itself, but like whoever owns that land now, turned that parking lot into a building, into a friggin' apartment building or whatever it is, right? And just looking at that process amazed me, because I was like, we can do this. Like, we have all these freaking parking lots, like I said before, that are just wasting space, because they're used for all these cars. We can be doing mass transit and everything like that, and parking lots can be used for either food forest or or more dense, neighborhood type of situations. And so looking at the fact that you can turn a freaking parking lot into, a building, I was like, but that means we can also do it the other way, right? Where you can turn a parking lot into a food forest, or better yet, since it's in the city and you have limited space, you can turn a building into a park, right? And that's where the idea of this agronomic tower came from. So let me jump finally back to over there. Here we go. So that's what this idea came from, right? All that stuff conflated to this. I was like, okay, if we could turn a building into a park, what would that look like? How should that function? And so this is what I came up with here. I call it the Agronomic Tower because it's supposed to be a space for everybody in an urban center to learn everything you need to know about agriculture, right? All the science around how to grow food, how to manage food, and all that other stuff, right? So first and foremost, you have level 1, which is the street level, right? Where you can essentially, like I said before, rip up the asphalt and the cement and all this other stuff, and actually have grass there, have dirt paths, or at least it doesn't have to be dirt. It could be, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a material that is more natural. It's like a type of turf essentially, but it's not turf because it's not made of plastic or anything like that. It's made of like wood chips and something else, but it's more springy, right? It's more springy. So that that could be that path there where the main street is that path where people are walking or biking, across the main street, and you can have like these little shops where people will have like little stands where they can sell their little stuff, where they can inform you about what's going on here. You can have like a little notice board, so when you walk up to the building, you can learn more about what's going on in this building. Like, hey, this month, this is what we're doing, here, and you can sign up for things and stuff like that. But as you can see here, it's very natural. It's supposed to be very, organic, right? Where you have trees growing up and all sorts of different types of indigenous trees. And pardon me for the square trees. I mean, we could do some topiary, I guess, but I just use this because everything here is already available on this platform called Spline, right? Where you can drop in assets and stuff like that. I don't use that damn AI generation, but here's where I got stuff from. I just pulled things from the assets they already have. This is a pretty cool program if you want to do really simple 3D modeling. I'm not good at 3D modeling. I'm still learning Blender and stuff like that. I want to learn more of it, but I'm not there yet. So I had to use what's already available here in order to make this happen, right? So none of this is custom. All of this is just stuff that was on the platform, and I'm just kind of placing it. So it's more like a kit bash, I guess, kind of like a 3D collage almost. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, you can have all these things down here, and even like the ground floor inside the building has been rewilded, right? This is what I was talking about in my short, where you can rewild the inside of a building for interior plants and stuff like that, and people can go in there and learn more about different plants. They can grow things and so on and so forth. So yeah, I put here level 1, forestry and foraging, permaforest extending across the entire floor, created with native plants, right? So yeah, forestry and foraging, as in people can actually go here and forage for food for their, and eat, right? Like, why can't we forage? Like, they have this idea of urban foraging, but it's kind of a thing that you do, and it's like, it's like a every now and then, a little thing that you can do. But I was like, what if that's the norm? What if almost every building can have a rewilded ground floor, and therefore, if you want to get food, you can literally just go downstairs and forage for food? Like, we as humans have been foraging for millions of years before we were humans, right? So it makes no sense that we kind of just dropped this inherent skill and this thing that makes us feel good. Like, if you ever did forage, like I urge you to try a foraging class. It feels so freaking good to be able to be like, oh, I can walk in the wild and identify this thing. I know it's edible, and boom, I eat the thing. Like that. Oh, we should do more of that, But anyways, yeah, that's what level 1 is for, right? And then before I go up, I'm gonna go down a little bit. the underground, right? Have this underground fungal ecosystem where you can have classes for mycology, mushroom farming, safe microdosing, magic mushrooms or whatever, right? Like there's a lot that goes into the whole magic thing, or goodness, the whole mushroom thing. I'm not gonna get into all that right now, but it's just an option here. And the reason why I have this here is because a lot of parking, a lot of these have parking decks, right? And if we're imagining a better world where we don't need as many cars, right, because we have mass transit and we have mixed-use living, so you can actually live here. You can live close to where where your jobs are and everything like that. You don't need parking, right? You don't need cars. And so I figured we can reuse this space for fungal ecosystems. We can, bring the fungal stuff back in here. And the big thing about this is that I wanted to bring the idea of a mycelium network into the city, right? There's a huge problem right now going on with the mycelium network. For those that don't know, that's basically all, I'm not gonna say all, but most trees and most flora, most plants and stuff like that are in the wild are connected underground through a mycelium network, through a fungal network, right? Or multiple different types of fungal networks, and which allows them to actually share resources. They share things like water and or at least knowledge about where the water is. They share nutrients like different chemicals and things like that. They even can communicate in some ways, right? Where if something happens in one part of the forest, they can communicate through the fungal network to another part, so they are aware of what's going on, right? It's amazing, right? Go look it up. And I'm like, the fact that this is dying, like, and industrial, we're killing this amazing thing that the earth does with fucking all this bullshit industrial crap, right? So I figured, hey, why don't we bring that into the city and integrate our cities into this mycelium network to give it life once again, as well as to give us life, right? Because how cool would it be if we could connect our own internet with the fungal internet, and then we could talk to trees and shit. We could I'm nerding out, man. Let me move on. There's so much stuff we could be doing, is the point here. Anyways, I didn't want this video to be too long, so I'll try to cut off on the things here. I'm doing this during my lunch break, so I need to finish up soon. But anyways, level 2 here is for gardening and potted plants, indoor and outdoor plant care for aesthetic and productive horticulture. You can have classes here for potted planting, repotting, watering, greenhouses, indoor versus outdoor gardening, flooring arrangements, and so on and so forth, right? So the ground floor is for rewilding, and I figure one level up you can do potted plants, right? And you can show people how do you grow indoor plants, very well. If you want to grab one, you can come and grab one. You can make your own pots. You can do your own plants. If you need pots, you can take some, go home, whatever. All this other stuff, right? The point is to make this a communal center for all things green. And then the level 3 is aquaponics, hydroponics, aeroponics, basically closed loop systems, or more or less like that, right? Classes include closed loop systems, aquaculture, practical recycling, and garden focused crafting, garden focused crafting, advanced horticulture, and so on. So if you haven't caught on by this point, every level has classes to teach you how to do the thing, right? Because this is meant to be like a college type of thing, but not a college as in you have to be enrolled to. Like, this is a free, open, communal center where you have classes on how to do all these things, right? And anybody who is interested can join a class, and anybody who has the knowledge can teach a class, right? It's meant to open up the education element of in general, right? And to tie it to this urban gardening system. Level 4 is food storage. You got classes include cooking, canning, air drying, smoked meat, sanitation, fermentation, and more. Everything around how to store food, you have it here. And if you notice, there's no glass, right, for most of these rooms down here, right? Because they're supposed to be more open so that you can, wind and air and water and sunlight can easily come through for the plants, right? And even for these closed loop systems, like inside here, a lot of these are like exposed to the air. I guess they're not really closed loop. That you can have closed loop systems. Maybe I should have put the closed loop systems up here. Now I think about that with the that stuff's up there. But yeah, well, that's what I was thinking with closed loop is more like, you build like down here, um, where you can have like a raised bed type of situation and irrigation system all within it. That's kind of what I was thinking, not literally like a closed environment. But anyways, yeah, up here is for storage systems, and then you can have like here you can have like all these drying racks to dry, the different things. You can even hang these on the outside of the building, because a big thing, and you'll get to it more up here with the net, is that buildings right now, especially all the glass, is incredibly unsustainable, right? It's really bad for the environment because the heat from the sunlight hits the glass and it refracts back onto the street, and that creates that's one of the things. There's many things, but that's one of the things that create what they call a heat island effect, right? Where cities are hotter than they should be, then a couple temperatures hotter than the actual environment around it, and that makes it harder, for natural life to live, and it makes it worse for us, in the long term. I mean, even in the short term, anyways, right? And also with all the glass, it causes the vast, like the wind to be really cutting, right, to go through, because it's basically becomes a huge wind tunnel because you have all these glass buildings and stuff like that, and the wind is just going through. But if you have these buildings open up, right, then the wind is not so powerful because now it's actually flowing through the internal side, the inside of these buildings and stuff like that. Let me speed this up. Goodness, I'm talking way too much. But yeah, this is for everything, all stuff, storage and stuff like that. Level 5 is for enclosed habitats. Your vivariums, terrariums, aquariums, paludariums, all that stuff. Classes include self-contained ecosystems, any kind of arium, insect closures, and so on. So yeah, that's self-explanatory there. And then level 6 is for natural fertilizers and soil quality. So things like fertilizer, soil science, manures, composting, worm farming. You can learn about all that in that area. Like I said, I want to, because these areas is more important to keep them contained, because you don't want stuff flying out where you're messing around with chemicals and this, that, and the other. And so these can still have the glass on the building, but you can have like these giant nets over the top of the glass, and which cuts down on the refraction as well as cuts down on bird strike, so birds don't just slam into the building and die. With this, I didn't put this here, but you can actually have like vining plants on these netting as well. And then for level 7, you have natural insect repellent and plant health management. Classes include humane pest and weed management, invasive species amelioration, fungal and bacteria management, and so on. Right. So you don't want to do any sort of pesticide because it just kills things. Right. But I couldn't find a better word for it, but there is a thing as pests, right? Things that you don't necessarily want to be there in your garden or whatever, this, that, and the other. But usually it's for invasive species, right? And so that's the thing that we need to have a whole section on how to figure out. And then level 8, the top of here is bioscience and biotech labs. And this is where you can have all your, microbiology, biotechnology, genetics, plant cultivation, and so on and so forth. And you can really learn more about the hard, quote unquote, hard science behind all of this stuff that you just learned down there, right? And then at the very top, you can have some water management where you have a big water tower. You can have water catchment systems where you learn about, how to catch water, how to filtrate, plumbing, rainwater capture, and so on and so forth. And all this stuff will pump back down into the building, right? Through these different catchment systems. And then even in the back, I have this waterfall type of situation, right? So I was already running out of time, so I didn't detail this out, but essentially you can have the water catchment system, basically waterfall down the building, right? And like this, it can be a straight waterfall. I don't think so. I might be like a snaking type of thing, so that you can have water features on each part of the building, and a little pond down there as well. You can sit back there and all this other stuff. But yeah, that's the general idea of my agronomic tower. And as always, let me know what you think. That's the idea there. I can go on and on about this stuff. I have I wrote some stuff about it, so I'll probably post that in the description as well. But yeah, let me know what you think, and have a good day. See ya. Bye bye.